It's September 2021 and I'm staying in East Sussex, visiting the county town of Lewes in search of castles, priories and a wife of Henry VIII who got away with not just her head, but also alimony. Located on the river Ouse, where it flows through a narrow gap in the line of the South Downs, controlling trade between the coast and the Sussex interior, the area has been of strategic importance for millennia, from the Iron Age to the modern day. Today, the river still runs through the heart of the town, with the railway and main road on opposite sides of the river, and the town's iconic Harvey's Brewery sat in a commanding position by the Cliffe Bridge, an 18th century replacement for the crossing that's been here since at least medieval times. On the edge of town, the chalk cliffs of the South Downs come down to the river, leaving only a narrow strip of land for the main A26 road to pass along. Whilst the downs dominate the natural landscape, the fortifications of Lewes Castle dominate the built environment of the town. The original fortification, a simple motte and bailey design known as Brack Mount, was completed shortly after the Norman conquest of England in 1066, with a second motte called the Keep being constructed before the end of the century. This makes Lewes almost unique in the country in having two mottes, something that only Lincoln Castle also has. During the 12th century, the original wooden palisades were replaced with masonry shells, and stone walls and towers were constructed. And it was from this castle that Henry III's soldiers went out to fight, and ultimately lose, the Battle of Lewes, part of the Second Barons' War. The neighbouring Barbican House Museum tells the story of the battle, as well as more history of the town and archaeology from across Sussex. Back in the castle, further towers were added and a barbican gate completed the current layout of the castle by the 14th century. You can climb to the top of the barbican gate, from where there are views over the town and surrounding countryside, as well as some of the best views of the remains of the main castle keep. Heading down the hill from the castle, and you reach the 16th century timber-framed Wilden Hall House, otherwise known as the Anne of Cleves house. Anne received the building as part of the annulment settlement from Henry VIII when he divorced her for Anne Boleyn, making her quite unique in getting out of a marriage to Henry with both her life and alimony. The opposite side of the railway tracks to the house are the ruins of Lewes Priory, which fared significantly worse under Henry's reign. The Priory of St Pancras was established around 1081 by the Cluniac order, and at one point had one of the largest monastic churches in the country. Following the Battle of Lewes, King Henry III retreated to the Priory precinct, where he was forced to accept the Mise of Lewes, a settlement that effectively created parliamentary government in England. Following the dissolution of the monasteries, the Priory was surrendered to the Crown in November 1537, and under the direction of the King's Secretary, Thomas Cromwell, was deliberately demolished. Less than a year later, Henry granted the land to Thomas, and following his fall from grace, the manor was included alongside Wilden Hall House in the settlement to Anne of Cleves. Two and a half miles south of Lewes is a small village of Rodmell, home to Monk's House. This 16th century cottage became a centre for the literary world in the early 20th century when Virginia Woolf and her husband Leonard bought the house by auction. Many visitors connected to the writing world, including T.S. Eliot and E.M. Forster, visited over the years, and it was close by in the nearby River Ouse that Virginia took her own life in March 1941. Leonard continued to live in the house until his death in 1969. The house passed into the ownership of the University of Sussex and eventually in 1980 to the National Trust, who still look after it as a museum to the author today. Four miles further south and you reach the mouth of the River Ouse as it empties into the English Channel at Newhaven. Always an important point of defence on the south coast, there's been fortifications here since at least the Roman times. The fort was redesigned during the Victorian era, and like an iceberg, the bulk of the fort is hidden below the surface in passageways, magazines and tunnels hollowed out of the cliffs. Though it is with irony that in the time it took to complete the fort, the main threat from Napoleon III had not only passed, but the former emperor had retired and was living in exile in Kent. Two and a half miles east along the coast and you reach Seaford. The town was once a major port, but with the harbour silting up, traffic was eventually moved for 2.5 miles up the coast to the new harbour, or Newhaven. The town had a revival in the 19th century, becoming a small seaside resort, albeit eclipsed by its neighbours, with Eastbourne the next resort to the east and Brighton just a few miles to the west. The town is also the starting, or end point, depending on the direction you're heading, for the chain of Martello Towers that run from here back to Aldborough in Suffolk. The tower having been turned into the town's museum, as well as giving access to the roof for views over the town and up towards the towering cliffs of Seaford Head. "5 miles inland, up and over the ridge for South Downs, and turning back on yourself, you're greeted by the Long Man of Wilmington." A giant chalk figure carved into the chalk of the South Downs at 72 metres or 235 feet tall and holding 2 staves, the figure's been carved to look in proportions when viewed from below. Originally thought to have been an Iron Age or even Neolithic in origin, archaeological investigations in 2003 dated it to the 16th century. Lewes Station has direct rail connections to London Victoria, Gatwick Airport, Brighton, Eastbourne and Hastings.